This is Digital Music Trends. We're at Midem 2013 and it's day 4 of the conference. So everybody is getting to sort of the final stage. And I'm here with Benji Rogers, the CEO of Pledge. So hi Benji, how's it going?
Good morning. It's early.
It's early, yeah it is. It's an early
We're having
meeting.
trouble finding decent coffee.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So let's talk about Pledge.
Yep.
Of course, you know, a lot of people that listen to the show are going to be familiar with the company, but just give us a very quick overview.
Sure. The concept of Pledge was that there was a lot of crowdfunding companies in the space, and there was a few when we launched it, and we really wanted to go in a different direction, more in the direct-to-fan direction, I guess it would be. And the concept really was that rather than say, fund my album and then I'll go make it, you would position it more as pledge here to be a part of the release of my new album. And from day one, you get access to a special part of the site that would have on it rough mixes, live tracks, demos, video blogs. And the reward for pledging is that you unlock this layer of, fan engagement. And that you could pledge in multiple different ways, and that a part of the profits could be given to a charity of the artist's choice. So what we saw was that whereas a crowdfunding campaign would last 30 or 60 days and then end, ours would continue from launch through till release of the record. And that meant that there was a lot more the artist would do better financially. The fans would engage throughout the process, and someone would show up and give money to a charity, which can't be bad.
It's cool, yeah, and it's cool to have the idea of it being a process rather than it being just a fixed deadline, and then after that just being closed off. Right?
The fixed deadline was always strange to me. Like you want to have some sort of gamification element. You want it to be like, and when we hit 50%, 70%, 75%, 99%, something happens. But what we would do is unlock more layers of access rather than just say because fundamentally, do music fans want to fund music, or do they want to see behind the scenes stuff? Do they want to hear stuff before everybody else? And we built, the means to deliver the digital content. I hate that word. Deliver the digital music to the fans, and we help the artists get fulfill the physical stuff. Yeah. And really, what I viewed it was that we wanted to be the thinnest layer between fan and artist. Yeah. So the artist is comfortable, and some of the social technology we built means that when the artist does a pledges only update, which we call them pledges only updates, it emails the fan directly. It auto feeds the artist's Facebook and Twitter. Yeah. But if I'm a fan and I've pledged, that same update will feed my Facebook and Twitter. Oh, so great. Each fan becomes like a sharing layer. So if you were just to run a 30 or 60-day campaign, that's not enough time to activate your entire fan base. Yeah. So our campaigns will run 3, 4, 5, 6 months, even sometimes a year. And as long as the artist delivers incredible music, videos, experiences, doesn't get boring. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And it's always interesting to look at, the different layers of crowdfunding and the different objectives that bands have. So talk me through, for example, a campaign for an artist that might want to raise, $5,000.
Sure. We wouldn't actually, we don't display financial targets, so no one would know how much money is being raised. Yeah. There's only one campaign on the website right now where we show a financial target. What happened was in the early days, artists would say, I need $5,000 to record my record. And that put them, to the public's eyes, in a $5,000 bracket. Yeah. So all of a sudden, is your music worth $5,000? Yeah. Why place a public monetary value? Yeah. So we got rid of those, and we just put a percentage, 0 to 100%. And what that meant was if 10 bands were on the site at 75%, you could see a number of pledgers, so you could kind of gauge where they were, but at the same time, the amount of money was irrelevant. And we found that fans spent more if they couldn't see how much money was being raised. Yeah. Because otherwise, it's kind of like, why do you need $100,000 to record your album? Yeah. This is 2013. That money's not necessary anymore. Or why do you need $5,000? And I was very concerned because in the early days when we showed the financial targets, the perception was bands were on Facebook going, we're so close, we're at $17,000. When we hit $18,000, it'll all happen. And it was like they were pleading for this money. And it just killed me. It was like, there's nothing musical about that. There's no players on the, and I have infinite respect for crowdfunding companies who do proof of concept stuff like books or movies or, stuff that really requires a big outlay. That makes sense. But music shouldn't, to me, be proof of concept. If you think I'm good enough, then I'll go do it. You should just go make your music. And that's the beauty of independent music. So an artist that wants to raise $5,000 to mix, master, and manufacture their record would say, be a part of my record. I'm going to mix and master it, and then you're going to get the copy first before anybody else. I want to go to this amazing mastering studio because they're going to do an incredible job, and your pledge will allow me to make a better product than I was going to make anyway, a better album. And by reframing it away from funding, you get really exciting stories.
Yeah.
And then people, the other thing that was always occurring to me was that you set your exclusive levels, you're kind of like your items, $10 digital download, 15 digital plus CD, 30. And then when the campaign ends, you can't pledge on them anymore.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've come across that a few times where a band I really love, and I was like, "Oh, damn, I missed a Kickstarter or something," and then I couldn't buy the record until it came out. And it was really frustrating.
So for us, as soon as they hit their target, so here's one way to look at it. Let's say that you want to make a record and you raise enough money to make CDs and T-shirts and posters. Once you've hit that financial target, why not then offer vinyl? And then signed vinyl, and then test pressings, and then the album artwork proof. So we viewed these as dynamic campaigns that didn't just say, we've got 30 days to make shit happen. You're like, once we hit this target, we're going to unlock more. So what we found was that you would get about 37% of the artist's income comes after 60 days end. So what happens is that 60 days ends and you've got 37% more potential income on the table just by keeping the campaign open till release.
That's great.
Because if you think about it, fund my album, it's funded. Now I'm going to go and record a record, and you disappear.
Yeah.
And then you come back. Hey, it's time to buy my record that you funded. It's again, I think what it is that crowdfunding's brilliance lies in proof of concept.
Yeah.
If enough people want this watch, I'll build it. But music has a very different dynamic. And so when I look at traditional crowdfunding campaigns that go out, they're often, the price points aren't thought through very carefully. We vet those projects. We help them get their campaign to where it's going to succeed, because my whole thing is that I don't want to have thousands and thousands of bands, succeeding to this level. I want to have bands who have a better shot. And it's, I never learned music business marketing when I was a musician. I could barely figure out how to tie my shoelaces. So I needed a team to help me. And we've assembled a team of people who've run thousands of these campaigns now, who go, you can't offer a signed CD and baked cookies for $10, because if you have to send that to Japan, you've lost money, which means that you're not going to be able to deliver your record, which means that there's, it's a threat all the time.
Yeah, sure.
And, when we're working with the larger bands, a band like, we did the Ben Folds 5, that was our first US top 10 album. We were talking, tens of thousands of sales, and it was a logistical thing. There was a big piece to that, and getting CDs into boxes was a challenge for them. And they did it, and it's it was a success. But I think that we got to look at these things as how they can fit into the music industry, and not be just a standalone, you fund it and then it goes away, because there's a consequence to that.
Absolutely. There's a consequence, and there's also a cost. So everything has to be accounted for, and you have to think about stuff like postage, you have to think about manufacturing costs.
We even do things like whereby if the label that we're working with or doesn't have rights for a certain territory, we can geo-block that territory. I don't like doing it, but obviously if the band wants to do it, then they should. And the real thing for me is that I knew we had to build a music industry solution. So managers in Europe really wanted to count towards the charts. So we have to make those pledges count towards the charts, because that's what our customers want, and those customers are managers, fans, labels, and artists.
Yeah. And do you find it relatively easy to work with some of the charts companies to do that, or no?
I will say this: Nielsen SoundScan have been absolutely phenomenal, and they've made it incredibly easy, and they are obsessively accurate about it. So we have to literally, for them, they need to make sure that the record has been downloaded, not just sent, but downloaded. And so we have to have backup
Logs.
logs to prove it. And I love that because that means that you're getting the most accurate chart.
Yeah.
In Europe and Australia and they want it to be going through a particular place. They don't count certain things, and to me, it's like it's not getting the most accurate picture, and that's a real shame.
Sure.
Because the technology has allowed us to literally say this person downloaded this at this point in time in this part of the world, geo-targeted to their IP address. So it's something that's important, but I think that and again, we're solving it. I mean, we've put, I think, 6 records into the top 40 in the UK. But it means that we have to make a lot of compromises on what's offered to fit rules that, I mean, if I'm frank, aren't relevant anymore.
Yeah.
They were relevant a few years ago, but, we'll get there. I really believe that we'll get there, and I believe that there's a will to make this succeed by everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And, of course, music is the core end product that comes out of a pledge campaign usually, but we sometimes see artists doing some pretty outlandish stuff.
Sure.
Or
offering files of their own blood.
I was just going to ask you what's the weirdest things.
No, there's been all kinds of crazy things. One guy had, I will bathe your cat or dog. Can you imagine trying to bathe a cat? I mean, we've had what I love is, I'll tell you this. There's a lot of gimmicky stuff, and there's a lot of fun stuff. Yeah. But when an artist really, truly speaks to what the fans want, it gets really exciting. And as an example of that, a lot of artists would be like, I'll create a mystery box for you. Yeah. And for $50 on the road, I will fill it with memorabilia from the road and send it to you. Only one will exist in that form. Could be demos, could be hotel room Post-it pads, could be guitar strings, chewing gum, whatever it is, but it'll be my record of being on the road. And what that does is it shows in what is offered the artist's personality. Not just it's a box set, it's a book, it's a slipcase, it's this. Because that really is like, a standard splash page for offerings is what's there. Whereas to me, what we can take that further and make meaningful things. A test pressing with your name written into the lacquer. Yeah. How cool would that be? So like we just think about what fans want and find a way for artists to offer that.
Absolutely. And another side of crowdfunding that's really coming up recently is live side. Yeah. So of course you guys have a huge amount of expertise in the music front. Is this something that you may have? The
live side is complex because it involves dealing with third parties and ticketing, and because of the way that that we charge for cards, there often isn't money until an event has happened. Yeah. So it's a risk area. We do it by offering soundcheck passes, by doing guest lists. We can do a lot within it, and we've done thousands of shows. Yeah. But to build it into the formal ticketing structure is quite complex.
Yeah. Also because of course there's insurance costs, equipment, who pays for that. It's a huge thing.
But at the same time, as with anything, if you want to make it work, you'll find a way. Like we're not subject to what was, only to what works is one of the mottos of our company. So that's what we're going to make happen.
So 2013, is there anything in particular that you're excited about, or is it more like a progressive process for you guys to improve the platform and to?
I'm excited. I mean, we're getting more signups than ever. We're launching, putting into production, and releasing between 2 to 3 records every day, and that's growing. And to me, the real this is going to become a normal way in which albums are released. Yeah. And we're building ourselves into the fabric of a lot of not just labels, but managers. And, managers have used this 3, 4, and 5 times now. Yeah. So it's becoming normal. And when it becomes a normal part of the process, the fans win because it involves maximum creativity to deliver these things. So the artists are getting to be creative, not just in the way that they make music, but a marketing team now has this tool that gives them not just 6 weeks to work, but 4 or 5 months. You can roll out the greatest marketing campaign on earth and it pays for itself. Yeah. What's not to win there, So, my goal is that this becomes a normal part of the conversation. The second the band walks in the studio, when they're being an artist, not just a salesman, when they're still an artist, is when the campaign goes live. Yeah. And it ends when it delivers to the stores. Yeah. That's my goal.
And also, this goes hand in hand with the rise of label services company. Yeah. which is really great for you guys because, of course, label services company, which are not traditional labels, that just help the artists deliver on their product and help them in their path. And of course, you guys become a part of the story in that.
Yeah, it's been a phenomenal success working with label services companies, because what it's allowed our artists to do is come to the table with fully fledged finished product. And normally what would happen is when they would crowdfund it, they would then have to take it to label services and start again.
Yeah.
What the partnerships we're making with label services companies mean that we can launch these campaigns and the label services come in or are part of it from the word go. So your marketing doesn't begin when they pick it up. It's already started.
Yeah.
And so if you look at it from a label or a label services company's perspective, if we've already pre-sold a couple thousand records for the artists using the site, their job is made infinitely easier. They can go to radio and say, look at what's already happened. But I think that this will become the way in which music is released.
Yeah.
Fans will expect it,
yeah.
and they should, because it's possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's possible.
That's great.
It's riskier now to release a record in the old way than it is to do it this way. So,
yeah. Well, thanks so much, Benny, for your time, and I'd encourage my listeners to go and check out Pledge and see what you can do with them.
Thanks very much.